So our grandmother had a place up in Manaloking. We kind of grew up at, right on the lagoon there.
On the lagoon.
Yeah, it was pretty nice. Grandpa would go to the beach and grab some fish for dinner, and we would crab, and yeah, that was good times. Yep.
We used the traps.
Yeah, right in the lagoon.
Yep. The doors.
Yeah, with the doors. I don't know what they're called, but
we used to put chicken in there.
Yep. Yeah,
which is illegal now apparently. That's what you do with the string, and then you reel them in when you just put the bait on the string and reel them in.
But we had the cages though with the doors.
With the four doors. So when you pull it up, all the doors close, and you.
And then we had the hotel, which was Grandpa would call it the hotel. It was the big one where you would all the ones you caught.
And there were little holes, and they could all go in. It was probably like
in the water for a
3 by 3 by 3.
Yeah.
Cube.
They knew how to do it. They were probably homemade. Yeah, that was good times.
A small stretch of coastline along the central part of New Jersey had once been called Manasquan by the Native American people. It meant island door or point at the top. The English pronunciation would become Manasquan. When Henry Hudson sailed along this same stretch of coastline in 1609, he wrote of his sighting, "A good land to fall in with, and a pleasant land to see," perhaps giving name to the region of Point Pleasant. By 1740, the first Europeans had a name for this 10-mile span of sand dunes and coastal meadows, stretching from Manasquan River south to the new Cranberry Inlet. They called it Squan Beach. Throughout the Revolutionary War, Manasquan Inlet was used as a refuge by American privateers. In 1778, British troops and loyalists, seeking revenge on the colonists, sailed up the Manasquan River and destroyed the salt works at Union Landing. In the early 1800s, an inn named the Osborne House stood near the present-day intersection of Main and South Streets. The tiny settlement had begun to take on the name Squan Village. By the 1820s, Quakers living along the beachfront were taking in visitors to the shore. $10 a week would buy room and board, meals, and a wagon ride from the farmhouse to the beach. Being the guests of Quakers, however, required extreme modesty in choices of bathing apparel. Over 30 lives were lost when the freighter John Minturn came apart in the crushing surf off the coast of Manasquan in February 1846. Local rescuers were accused of looting the ship and its victims, but no one was ever found guilty. In the 1870s, farmers began carving up their land and selling the properties as vacation home lots. Captain John Arnold, retired from his career at sea, bought up some of this land, opened his own boarding house, and created Arnold City. He built a roadway to the ocean, now known as Arnold Avenue, and was instrumental in bringing the railroad to the area. A bridge over the Manasquan River to Brielle was completed in 1875, and the first passenger train to the area pulled into Point Pleasant Beach on July 3rd, 1880. In 1877, the Point Pleasant Land Company purchased 250 acres of the old Foreman Farm. To attract visitors interested in buying lots, it built the Resort House in 1878. This elegant new 4-story structure was the town's first luxury hotel, offering vacationers a variety of stylish quarters, a large ballroom, and a shady grove of oak trees on the lawn. Other grand hotels soon followed, like the enormous Leighton Hotel, built on the dunes between Foreman and Trenton Avenues. The Carlton and the Land's End. The Pine Bluff Inn sat high on the bank of the Manasquan River. It featured a golf course and was the scene of popular evening dances. During its heyday, Lillian Russell, Grover Cleveland, and Robert Louis Stevenson all took up summer residence at the resort. Point Pleasant Beach also boasted a seaside horse-drawn trolley, operating every summer through 1890. The service ran from the resort house to the beach, then on to the riverfront. At first, visitors spent much of their time at the farmhouses or picnicking in the cedar groves along the Manasquan River. As time went on, they became drawn closer to the ocean. The first beachfront pavilion was constructed on Atlantic Avenue in 1880, and the first boardwalk was built in 1890, getting washed away only 2 years later. On December 30th, 1887, Squan Village was incorporated as the Borough of Manasquan. In the early 1870s, Civil War veteran Roderick Clark had a boat building business on the Point Pleasant side of the Manasquan River. By 1892, it had developed into a fishing, swimming, and picnic spot named Clark's Landing. It would later become the town's first amusement and recreation area, featuring boat rides, an electric merry-go-round, and an ice cream making machine. While the early settlers of Point Pleasant were mainly farmers and boat builders, at one time the area was also a logging town. Steamboats traveled up and down the Beaver Dam Creek, hauling pine, oak, and cedar logs. The first electric trolley service began operating on Arnold Avenue in 1894, and the first real boardwalk on Point Pleasant Beach was built in 1915, running from Philadelphia Avenue to Central Avenue. It was later extended to run the entire length of the beach. By 1920, Point Pleasant had become an independent borough. In 1926, the Point Pleasant Canal was opened, connecting the Manasquan River to Barnegat Bay, providing access to the intercoastal waterway running from Manasquan to Cape May. By the mid-1920s, a diverse mix of Victorian homes, seaside cottages, and wooden bungalows began to fill the shoreline. At the time, one could walk from Point Pleasant to Manasquan at low tide. The natural inlet that had once been used by local fishermen and privateers had been filled in. Plans were made to dredge it, install bulkheads, and build jetties. And in 1931, Manasquan Inlet was permanently reopened. In 1926, boardwalk entrepreneur Charles Jenkinson acquired some property on Point Pleasant Beach. Already home to a few stores, a merry-go-round, and several other amusements, in 1928 he added Jenkinson's Pavilion and Pool, along with a candy shop, soda fountain, refreshment stand, and dance hall. Featuring big bands and dancing, the Boardwalk Pavilion became one of the most popular places for a night of fun and entertainment at the Jersey Shore. A hurricane in September 1938 destroyed the southern portion of the boardwalk, shortening it to its present length. To attract more beachgoers, bathhouses, restaurants, games, and arcades were added in the 1940s. Meanwhile, across the inlet, Manasquan's boardwalk divided the beach from quaint rows of bungalows, providing a quieter, more casual setting. In 1949, a miniature train ride opened along Point Pleasant Beach, connecting the pavilion to the inlet. And in 1954, a small kiddie park was added. The completion of the Garden State Parkway in 1955 provided even easier access to Manasquan and Point Pleasant, bringing in thousands of new visitors. In 1948, Herman's Amusements opened on the boardwalk, featuring about 10 rides, including a haunted house, the Scrambler, and Rockoplane ride. Holiday Playland opened in 1952 on the south end of the boardwalk with over a dozen rides, including a beautiful antique Denzel carousel. The town was continuing to gain fame on the Jersey Shore, and in 1962, Frankie Valli and the Four Seasons debuted their #1 hit, Sherry, as the house band at Martell's Seabreeze Club on Point Pleasant Boardwalk. Motels and bungalows were now providing comfortable accommodations for this new wave of visitors. And Jenkinson's Pool and Pavilion continued to draw large crowds. In need of an upgrade by the late 1970s, the property was sold and the old pavilion was renovated. A new arcade was built, along with games and concessions. A dinner theater was added, and a water slide was built to replace the old swimming pool and miniature golf course. Crowds continued to flock to the beaches of Point Pleasant and Manasquan, despite two separate fires in 1975 that destroyed most of the original boardwalk buildings. In the 1980s, Holiday Playland and Fun Fair were renamed Jenkinson South. Most of the thrill rides were sold off and replaced by more family-oriented rides. A new 1,200-seat pavilion was constructed in 1989 after fire had damaged the original. Built in the heart of the boardwalk, it featured live entertainment, a tropical-themed bar, arcade games, along with a food court and restaurant. Point Pleasant's water slides were removed in 1991 and replaced with the brand new and wildly successful Jenkinson's Aquarium. While the town of Manasquan owns its own beaches, Point Pleasant does not. In the 1920s, a bankrupt Point Pleasant sold its entire beachfront. Oceanfront land has been privately owned and operated ever since. The town owns just a short stretch of Maryland Avenue Beach. From the salt marsh known as Glimmer Glass to the Manasquan River to the Atlantic Ocean, Manasquan remains an exceptional attraction. Fishing boats sail out of the inlet year-round in search of bluefish, fluke, and striped bass. With its ocean breezes and serene white sand beaches, this seaside community has always boasted a unique natural charm. At Point Pleasant Beach, dedication to family fun and entertainment has made it a jewel on the Jersey Shore. Astounding beaches, colorful marinas, top-notch restaurants, and a mile-long boardwalk make it a premier East Coast destination.